Be sure to go to flipsidegaming.com and use promo code 6 for 10% off on orders over $10. You can do the same at the Grizzly Gentleman for some fantastic beard products that'll make your beard look and smell great. You can also go to TCG Player using the affiliate link below and shop there to help support the show. And last but absolutely not least, go to greyvikinggames.com with the link below to get those sweet arena codes. What is up, Planeswalkers? Although nobody asked, Justin finally talks about Alchemy. So what is Alchemy? Alchemy is coming to Arena today for all of you, I guess. And essentially, it is a new format as well as a system of sets that will affect Historic. Now, Alchemy, essentially, the base Alchemy is Standard. So it will rotate with Standard. New Alchemy insert set name here will come out. They said some amount of time after Alchemy, or after the main set comes out. So essentially, we're getting more digital only cards, and we'll have a format for Standard that is live. And what that means is Wizards will be changing the cards in the format. Changing the cards by literally modifying what the cards do, or how what costs are on the cards, or how strong, like the stat-wise, on the cards. But this also affects Historic. All of the changes that happen to rebalanced cards also happen to Historic. In addition, all of the new cards that are Alchemy, for this is Alchemy Innistrad, are going into Historic as well. So I wanted to see all of the cards, and by see I mean literally I just looked at them. I wanted to see all of the cards and kind of get perspectives from other people online before I kind of made up my mind completely. I've talked a little bit about it on stream. But where I stand is that Arena is an online CCG. Magic the Gathering Online is an online platform to play functionally paper Magic. And paper Magic is paper Magic. You play it in paper. For people who want to play Standard, they can play Standard on Arena, and then they can take those same decks that they play with on Arena, go to the local game store, buy the cards for it, and play Standard events there. However, for people who do not like how Standard is, or they just want to have a little bit more fun every now and then again with some of the weird online-only cards, they can play in Alchemy Standard, which is Standard, just with some cards changed and new cards in that are digital only. I find this to be a win because, as I've said several times, the best thing about Magic the Gathering is the amount of format diversity that the game can have. When it comes to Alchemy affecting Historic, I want to know a few things that we don't know yet about. I want to know if once the modified cards, so not the new cards, but once the modified cards rotate out of Standard, will the changes to those cards be reverted? For example, Luminarch Aspirant is a card. Actually, I don't know. I think this one might have the changes. Yeah. Oh, it doesn't have all of the changes. I need all of the changes. Okay. Well, that's stupid and annoying. Anyway, for example, the issue is like none of these cards see play. Let me rephrase. None of these cards see play in the decks that I care about. But Luminarch Aspirant is changed for Alchemy, now applying the 1/1 counter at end of turn instead of beginning of combat. This affects my Death and Taxes decks. And the way Wizards is doing this, because I can still technically play with that card, I will not get wild cards refunded. But what I'm curious about is, will Luminarch Aspirant be reverted back to before the changes once Standard rotates? That's something I want to know. The second thing is that Alchemy cards, the new digital-only cards, are legal in Historic. That is a win for me. I've seen some people complain. It's like, Historic, you can't, like, play it in real life. This is just a worse version of the Jumpstart Historic Horizons. Yeah, I don't care. Historic should and is an arena-only format. I guess technically you could put it on Moto, and I think, honestly, I'd be fine with that. But technically speaking, Historic is a digital-only format. And I think Wizards needs Historic. Because Historic is the real thing that Arena can do, that Paper obviously can't do, and that Moto could theoretically do, but Moto is trying to stick more closely to Paper, which I think is fine. When people say, and we'll get to some of these cards, that the drafting mechanic in the actual card mechanic is too much like Hearthstone, what I say to those people is, you have not played a sufficient number of online CCGs to recognize that that is not something that Hearthstone invented, and that is not something that Hearthstone is like the only one who does, right? That is a style of effect that has been seen in a number of other online CCGs. I've lost count at how many online CCGs I've played. A decent number of those have a mechanic where you look at 2 to 4 cards, and you choose one of those cards to either cast, or to put in a hand, or etc., right? It's not a Hearthstonification of Magic, okay? Historic and Arena more broadly are finally utilizing the fact that it is an online-only client, or format on the client, to really make online Magic that can only be played online. It gives people who play Arena as an online CCG the ability to actually experience the things that online CCGs can do that paper CCGs or TCGs can't. Or at least can't efficiently. So when it comes to the formats, I'm absolutely fine with them. I am looking very much forward to playing with these new cards. Some people have said these cards are busted. Some people have said these cards are garbage, and I'll talk about those. And it's probably going to be a long video, but I'm merging this and the Zendikar Morm. I'm just going to start calling it Morm. The Zendikar Morm video in the same day, just because I am proctoring an exam today on Thursday, and I was planning on streaming afterwards, but I don't know. I'm not entirely sure how tired I'll be after proctoring. So that takes us away from the broader focus of the formats and looks a little bit more narrowly to the problems that I see with Alchemy. Because I do see problems. I'm not just like some sort of wizard simp. I criticize them constantly. The largest issue with Alchemy has nothing to do with Alchemy in and of itself. And it has everything to do with Wizards' current economic system and their refusal to actually have an online-only CCG model for making money that's good, like, cough cough, Legends of Runeterra. What is funny to me is that they have worked with Riot, the people who make Legends of Runeterra, a competing game for a secret lair. Hopefully, some sort of collaboration occurs where Wizards finally realizes the best way to monetize an online-only CCG is via a buttload of cosmetics. So the issue with Alchemy is that there are essentially mythics and rares that don't need to be mythics and rares. The pack system doesn't make sense to me for Alchemy. And the refusal to give back wildcards is annoying. I have a potential solution that Wizards probably won't consider. But something that I think Elder Scrolls Legends did, I want to say, Hearthstone did at some point. I don't know if they still do. And I think Duelist did this, but I legitimately cannot remember. I don't think I played Spellweaver long enough to see nerfs. But when you modify a card, doesn't matter if you buff it in your eyes or if you nerf it in your eyes. If you change a card for a limited time, you can destroy your card to get back a resource. So, if they change Luminarch Aspirant, for example, I can go into the client and delete my Luminarch Aspirants for 5 wildcards. Now, I'm fairly certain that Wizard still wants to hold to the ethos of, we don't want you to destroy any of your cards, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. If you modify the card that I own, since I don't play Standard, and maybe I'll play some Alchemy Standard, but I'm feeling like I'm still going to be sticking to Arena, or to Historic. Since I don't play Standard, being impacted by something in a format that I don't play is frustrating. And I think the best compromise is allowing people who, for example, only play Historic, or even they play... No, if you play Standard, then, like, you should play Standard. But yeah, like, you can just allow people who have cards that are being affected to get their wildcards back. Because you're still not just giving wildcards, right? Giving wildcards means I get to keep the card, and I get wildcards. I think an okay, it's not technically fair, but whatever, an okay compromise would be to do that. The second issue that Alchemy has in my eyes is kind of just, again, not necessarily Alchemy's fault, it's just how Wizards handles things. Alchemy is coming instead of a bunch of different things that really should be on the client. People are very frustrated that we're getting Alchemy without hearing about it. Like, who knew about Alchemy before freaking December, right? Like, nobody. I think it was December. Might have been November. Nobody. And yet, Pioneer was announced a long time ago, and they said that they were delaying Pioneer to focus on historic anthologies. Not anthologies, historic remastered sets. Although, we haven't seen a remastered set in quite a while. A little sus. But yeah, Wizards has launched this essentially out of nowhere, really shafting people who enjoy Pioneer. Pioneer, right, should become Arena's eternal format that isn't a living format, right? Then you have not just Standard, which you can play in paper and still play it on Arena, but also have a format that's an eternal format that you can play on Arena, do a bunch of testing, you can play games a lot faster on Arena, so you can play a lot of Pioneer on Arena, and then go to your local tournament, make any deck changes you might want, and then play there, and have some experience in playing the game. But instead, Wizards adds Alchemy. Again, I think the formats in general is good, because I think the diversity for formats is great. But the fact that they've shafted Pioneer players, and their economy isn't fantastic, is very bad. Additionally, we still don't have a spectate mode. The friendless system is still, in my opinion, not great. I shouldn't say friendless, I should say the social system. Wizards could be doing so much more in Magic for Arena than they do. I've already talked about like faction wars and things like that. But they haven't. You could... they still don't have any like multiplayer announcements. The direct battle system is still flawed to hell. Not only are there still bugs, but there are also just... there are no options, right? And as I said, the diversity of Magic is the best thing. If Wizards wants us to be playing a ton of Arena, we would play more if we could have more control in direct play formats. But we don't have that. And there's a number of things that we also don't have. So those are, in my opinion, the two biggest issues with Alchemy. Although I do still think that the formats in general are going to be good. So there's going to be some fun stuff. They're going to have an Alchemy pack event. You get it for free. You get 3 packs. I assume that you're going to... Oh, okay, so you get 3 packs for joining, and then once you reach 5 wins, you get 3 more packs and 2,000 XP. That's good. That's like baseline good. That's what should be done. I still hate the stupid Innistrad thing that we have right now. Then we have packs in the store. It's weird that they have these packs. You can open Crimson Vow cards. You can open the new cards. But being only 63 digital-only cards, why did they do this? If I want to play Alchemy specifically, or I don't play Standard and I just want the Alchemy cards, why do I have to get them in packs? I mean, you can still craft them with wild cards, but why can't I just buy a set of a 63 card set? There are there are more cards, obviously, than the historic anthologies. However, you could just buy the anthologies. You can't just buy these, which I think is ridiculous. I do not see why such a small set, 63 cards, isn't something that we can just have a one-time purchase for. Or better yet, break it up by color, so I can buy all of the white cards for a fair price, all of the blue cards, etc., etc. But they're going to be in packs, which is dumb. There's some sort of bundle, gives you 20 packs. I mean, technically this is a saving, but it's dumb when these, in my opinion, should not be in packs. They just should not be packs. It is, in my opinion, offensive to essentially have Crimson Vow packs, and Crimson Vow packs with a little star on it that's saying you have a chance of getting one of these new cards. It's annoying. There's a Decathon I'm not actually going to talk about. We have a new Playblade. I need to play with it before I see. And then I'll talk really briefly about the historic brawl bans. Technically, this is going to be talking about Alchemy cards, but I did want to mention these. In my Discord brawl, these are all already banned. I think the Spirit Dragon technically isn't banned in the 99. But the rest of these are essentially banned, so now they're just actually banned, and I think it's great. There are more cards that, in my opinion, should be banned, but whatever. And then this is the nonsense stuff that I don't care about. Not going to talk about these, because for a full list, as well as more details on rebalancing for one of these cards changes, see this guy's article. And just take me to the article. Like, that's weird, right? This is just by Magic Digital. No, I want the rebalanced cards. Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, it's stupid. It's stupid that they're in boosters. Yeah, it's dumb. Anyway, let's just talk about Alchemy cards real quick. This is going to be a bit more casual. This is going to be a long video. So bear with me. Angel of Turn of Dawn. Oh, I guess I didn't explain why I think the rarities of these cards are stupid. Since I think that these cards shouldn't be in packs, the fact that they're making some of these, like... Remember, there's 63 cards. A relatively large percentage of them are rares and mythics. And that, to me, again, is like a big middle finger. Let's go to card picks. So there are no commons, really. Yeah, that's stupid. There are no commons. There are 11 uncommons. Remember, 63 cards. 10 mythics. It's a bit much, but sure, that's fine. 42 rares. There are no commons, and there are 42 rares. All that means is that if you want to play this format, you have to shell out your wild cards, and that is ridiculous. Many of these cards don't need to be freaking rares. Many of these cards could be common. And yet, they decided to stick to packs because it makes them more money. Anyway, Angel of Eternal Dawn. You know, it 3 mana, 2/4. The stat line's pretty good. Flying. Enters the battlefield, it becomes day. Can't become night. Cool, I suppose. Your opponents can't cast spells with mana value greater than the number of turns they have begun. Essentially, this just means that your opponent can't, like, ramp. They can't do, like, cheeky omniscience stuff. So, I mean, that's nice. This is, like, an interesting Death and Taxes style card. This doesn't really matter. And I'm talking about, for all of these cards, I'll be talking about Historic. I don't know enough about Standard to be a good judge on it, so I'm just talking about Historic here. There are some fringe werewolf decks in Historic, but the only real text here is your opponents can't cast spells with mana value greater than the number of turns they've begun. Again, this is something that would be annoying to track on paper. This, I guess I can see why this is rare, but just like realistically speaking, it could be common. Or sorry, uncommon, not common. I mean, I can't think of too many, because by the time your opponent is actually like casting their Alrund's Epiphany or whatnot, they've gotten up to turn 7 for the most part. I guess this does help against like Mizzix's Mastery decks. Although then I would rather just have Weathered Runestone, because it hits more things, so the sideboard slot for it isn't as bad. I'm not a giant fan of this card. Angel of Unity, however, is an angel. Wait, is she an angel warrior? She's just an angel. Cool. This is an angel cleric. 2 mana, 1/3, flying lifelink. Cool. Got a cheap angel, also a cleric. Whenever it enters a battlefield or you cast a party spell, choose a party creature card in your hand. It perpetually gets +1/+1. Okay. What is interesting about this card is that a lot of the pieces of this deck work really nicely in a bunch of different places, right? It's an angel, and it cares about life. That's great. It's a cleric, and it cares about other clerics, as well as, again, caring about life. So when you have a deck, right, that has a lot of clerics, a lot of angels, a lot of life gain stuff going on, this can potentially slot really easily into just the life gain deck, right? The life gain deck already has a lot of clerics. There is a version of the lifelink deck that does include angels. So this is potential to see some decent play. And if you have extra copies of Angel of Unity, the next ones will be bigger, and they can kind of snowball, and I think that's pretty cool. What's notable about this is that it isn't just on cast. You do get one on ETB, which is very helpful, because, hey, maybe you only have one other card in your hands. Additionally, I mean, it helps with the rest, which, sure, whatever. There was one other thing that I cannot recall what it was. Right, the toughness. The fact that the toughness is 3 instead of like 2, which I could have seen Wizard do, it means that it works a little bit nicer, because a lot of the angels, especially that care about lifelink, care about it on the basis of toughness. So that's fine. This is an okay card. Oh, I guess that is something that I should mention. A lot of the cards are like meant to slot directly into an archetype, which feels very Yu-Gi-Oh! Hilariously, I've not really seen a lot of people talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Because everyone is up their asses talking about Hearthstone. I think that in like a large set, it's not as noticeable. Obviously, they make cards to be good in certain archetypes, but when it's in a minuscule, a subset, if you will, because this is not a real set, in a subset, you really see when Wizards is just like, I'm printing a card for this exact deck. So that is a little but it's not too terrible. This is a mythic. 2 mana, 1/1, human soldier with double strike. Spells cast from among cards you drew this turn, cost 1 less to cast. Spells cast from among cards your opponent drew this turn, cost 1 more to cast. Why is this mythic? It has double strike. Sure, I guess, if you're suiting it up with equipment. It would work really nicely with things like Luminarch Aspirant. Unfortunately, Luminarch Aspirant is getting nerfed, and we're not getting our wild cards back for it. So, it makes your stuff cheaper, but again, I'm looking in terms of historic, and this is a human card or a Death and Taxes card. I guess maybe it could be an equipment card, but even then, I don't see it being great. Yeah, this ability isn't going to matter all that much because your cards are already kind of cheap, and you're not going to be drawing a lot of cards, right? So you're typically only going to get a -1 reduction. You'll need to have something at instant speed, I guess, or just ways of getting card advantage in order to keep playing things. This might be good with the vampire, the woman who likes when you play small creatures, you cast this, and then you can kind of keep the drawing going, but it's relatively specific circumstance. This is decent. If your opponent draws, they can't, if they top deck their board wipe, cost you a bit more mana. I do like the effect. I like that this does have at least first strike. It has double strike. Double strike is just first strike plus normal strike. I do like that this has first strike because it blocks really nicely with Thalia. Really nicely with the Blade Splicer token, as long as Blade Splicer is still around. So, I do appreciate that. But again, why is this card a mythic? This feels very much like this is just a Thalia type card. Like if this just said Captain Thalia on here, and it was rare, I'd be like, yeah, that looks right. I do not understand why this is mythic. I legitimately don't. I'm doing a mythic or misted series, or mythic or mistake series now, and this would be a mistake. It has some complexity on it. It is not a splashy card. I do not think this card is very powerful. This card should not be mythic. I'm going to try it out in Death and Taxes because I'm fortunate enough to make content to subsidize the costs that come with making content, and there are a lot of costs, but I'm able to subsidize that. I'm going to test it. I would legitimately say don't craft this card until you are sure that it's good. Divine Purge. 3 mana, exile all artifacts and creatures with mana value 3 or less. They perpetually gain. The spell costs 2 more to cast, and this permanent enters the battlefield tapped for as long as each of them remains exiled. So, what's interesting here is because this is mana value 3 or less, this is cheap, but it's not for a deck that is looking to have a low mana cost, right? It does exile, which is nice. Gets around indestructible stuff, but they can still cast them, although it's taxed. But again, it's mana value 3 or less. Additionally, Black still does not have access to Damnation or Mutilate. Those 2 cards, Damnation or Mutilate, should be in Historic. If White is allowed to have as many, I cannot even count the number of board wipes that White has that are true board wipes. Black deserves at least Mutilate. At least. This card, I think this is probably a sideboard card or even a main deck card, depending on the meta. If you're playing best of 3, I think you're more likely to see it, just because of the fact that it only really works in certain circumstances. Against like mid-range, this is sad, because mid-range is okay going a little bit later, so casting, having a higher cost isn't too bad for their low drops, and then they're going to have high drops that are going to beat the crap out of you. Ethereal Escort. 3 mana 3/3. Lifelink. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, choose a card in your hand. It perpetually gains lifelink. Why is this a mythic? This should not even be a rare. This is uncommon at best. How is this mythic? It doesn't have... It's not an angel. It's a spirit, sure, who cares? But like spirits aren't really a focus of the lifelink deck. It isn't a cleric. It has lifelink. It's a 3-mana 3/3 with lifelink. That's strong. That's a decent stat line. It can give more of yourself lifelink. Sure, cool, okay. If you're playing a deck that cares about life, many of your creatures already have life gain, or they have ways of gaining you life. Because they're probably going to be too small to actually attack with. This card should not be a mythic at all. I would accept rare. In my opinion, this would be a strong uncommon. Don't get me wrong, it would be very strong, but this would be a strong uncommon. I frankly think this is ridiculous. Lifelink is not even that strong of a keyword. If this was like trample or haste or even vigilance, I would respect it a little bit more. But it's just lifelink. This creature has no evasion. It's still essentially just a hill giant that puts a freaking lifelink counter on one of your things. Technically, it's not a counter, but whatever. And then you have to attack with it. Again, it's just a hill giant. It's just a 3-mana 3/3. No, that's Grey Ogre. No, Grey Ogre's a 3-mana 2/2. Hill giant's a 4-mana 3/3. Whatever. It's a 3/3, dude. I do not understand why this is mythic at all. This is an insult, in my opinion. Expedition Supplier is a 3-mana 2/2 human warrior party. Whenever it or another human enters the battlefield under your control, conjure a card named Utility Knife onto the battlefield. This ability triggers only once each turn. So when it enters, you get one, or when another human enters, you get one. So let's go ahead and copy and paste. Utility Knife is a card from Zendikar Rising that is not really played. Now, what's nice is that it does immediately equip, so it is essentially free value, right? This essentially is a 3-mana 3/3 that leaves a buff around when it dies, and when you play another human, at least once per turn, you get more. We currently don't have Peels to Paladin on Arena. I don't think yeah, I just feel like there's not really overlap in like easy ways of getting conjured artifacts for playing humans. I don't see this being good like anywhere. Faithful Disciple, 2-mana 2/2 vigilance. When it dies, draft a card from Faithful Disciple's spellbook. Let's hop over here and let's go to Faithful Disciple's spellbook. Okay, so in his spellbook, remember it's on dice. There we go. It's on dice. Otherwise, it's a 2-mana human cleric vigilance 2/2. Sure, like that stat line, honestly fine. It's a human that matters. It's a cleric that matters. Has vigilance. That's fun. Another procession. Okay. Let me just triple. Does this have any information? It doesn't, of course. I believe the way drafting will work is it'll show you 3 cards and you pick one. Unknown Procession. Okay, only really good if you're playing in a token deck. Cathar's Crusade. Best if you're playing in a token deck. Also, by the way, it's put in your hand, so you still have to cast it. Authority of the Consuls. Terrible if you're playing against not an aggro deck. Scissor of the Empty Throne. You kind of need to be an enchantment deck. All That Glitters. Again. Banishing Light. Relatively helpful. Divine Visitation. Again, you gotta kind of be playing tokens. Duel's Heritage. Who even wants this card? Glorious Anthem, sure, but again, you want to be going wide, probably tokens. Gauntlets of Light, this is a combo card, that's it. This card should not be anywhere else. Teleportation Circle. You need to care about ETBs. Not sure of a deck where you're playing that and ETBs. Angelic Gift, sure, it's not terrible, because you do at least get to draw a card, and it's relatively cheap. Spectral Steel, meh. Cleric Class, actually good. Angelic Exaltation, no one plays this card. So I will say again, meh. That said, at least it is an uncommon, and it does have, it's essentially a 2-mana 2/2 that when it dies you get to draw a card, and you have some say over the card. So in that sense, it's not awful. The problem is, like, whenever you're evaluating a card that has kind of signposts of where it should go. You also have to take into consideration, what am I taking out to play this card? Right? How am I getting this card into the actual list? I have no idea. Like, I just don't think any of those are impactful enough to... On average, I don't think those cards give you enough. Because, again, you're not going to be able to see all of them at once, I don't think. So, yeah, it's not great. If freaking... I would really love... Have they freaking talked about drafting things? Yeah, you'll see 3 cards. That's what I thought. So yeah, Inquisitor Captain, a 4-mana 3/3 Vigilance human cleric. She's holding a sword, and she's a captain. And yet, she's a cleric. Anyway, when it enters the battlefield, if there are 20 or more creature cards with mana value 3 or less among cards in your graveyard, hand, and library, seek 2 creature cards with mana value 3 or less, put one of them onto the battlefield, and shuffle the other into your library. Seek 2 creature cards. So this is strange, because I don't know how this is exactly is going to work. This is similar to Collect the Company. Obviously, it's not the same. Collect the Company has a chance to whiff, but it's an instant speed, and it can get 2 creatures directly onto the battlefield for the same mana value. This technically requires you to play a certain number of creatures, but so does Collect the Company, really. This is a body by itself, which is nice. You can abuse it by flickering it, so that's nice. But what's weird is it says from graveyard, hand, and library, seek 2 creature cards with 3 lights, put one of them onto the battlefield and shuffle the other. Are they seeking from the graveyard and library? Are they seeking from just the library? Are they seeking from all 3 of these? In which case, no thank you? I don't know how exactly this specific card's going to work. Because the thing is, you shuffle the other into your library. It's just strange if you're seeking a card, you're seeking 2 cards from your library, you get to choose one of them to put, I assume you get to choose one of them to put on the battlefield, and then you just shuffle the other one. But I don't know, it's just weird. I don't know, it's weird. It just seems weird to only have a choice of 2. Meh. I'm going to try this card in Death and Taxes, essentially like the mono white one, because the green version right now is mostly just, I'm playing green for Collect the Company. I'm going to play that in place of Collect the Company in a mono white version. Guardian Evangel. It's a 2-mana 3/1 human cleric. Wow, get a lot of those. Enters the battlefield, conjure a card named Guardian Evangel into your hand. Discard that card at the beginning of the next end step. When Guardian Evangel enters the battlefield, tap target permanent you don't control. What's really interesting about this card is, gosh, it is very similar to, I don't know, it's like Summoning Sands or something like that in Legend of Runeterra. It's just a card, essentially, that you can cast as many copies of as you can pay for. It's like Replicate, the mechanic from OG Ravnica that was Izzet, and it allowed you essentially to pay a spell's cost multiple times, and you would get copies of the spell based on the number of times you cast it. So with this, essentially, let's say I have 4 mana. Let's say I have 6 mana. I top deck this card. I cast it. Hopefully it doesn't get countered because it's not on cast. It's on freaking ETB, which is it does mean you can flicker it, but At ETBs, I get another one. I have 4 mana. I pay and play. I get another one. I have 2 mana left. I play it. I get another one. It'll get Oh, that's also interesting. The fact that it gets discarded and it doesn't evaporate, right? Because these are real cards. They're conjured. That actually is interesting because it also adds to your graveyard. It triggers discard synergies. I mean, that's very interesting. But additionally, what this card does is it allows you to, you know, you're playing humans or death and taxes, or even like a cleric life gain deck. You know, you have this huge Johnny's Primate that you just can't get through. You cast a couple of these, tap down the only things that they can reasonably block with, and then you kill them. Right? This card has a lot of interesting stuff going on, and I'm actually kind of excited to play with this card because it's also just like good in a top deck situation. You know, you flood it out, you got a bunch of mana, you top deck this, and all of a sudden you have a board. And I've talked about several times how I really like board in a box cards, where you essentially have one card that can build up your board. I want Bremas to be on Arena. That'd be fun. Slayer's Bounty, 1 mana, legendary artifact clue. Interesting. When Slayer's Bounty enters the battlefield, look at the creature cards in target opponent's hand. When it enters the battlefield, look at the creature cards in target opponent's hand. Whenever you sacrifice Slayer's Bounty or another clue, draft a card. So you just look at the creatures. You get to draft a card. Pray tell, what are these cards? Bounty Agent. Okay, I mean, that's not terrible. Because this doesn't sacrifice a clue. So, like, you're paying 2 mana to draw a card and potentially get, like, another 2/2, that's fine. Outflank can be bad. Like, it works with Thraben Inspector, because it gives you another clue. It doesn't really work with, the Absence card. Faithful Absence? I don't remember, something like that. Because you're giving your opponent a clue. Okay, so far, Outflank is not good because it requires you to be playing a number of creatures. Bound in Gold is fine. Yeah, Bound in Gold is fine. Bring to Trial. Could be okay. Class Cast. Again, I'm evaluating this as if, like, you're paying 2 mana at instant speed, potentially, to draw a card and essentially to draw 2 cards. Right? This essentially is like this is a weird way of having a white divination, right? That also lets you look in your opponent's hand. So it's like, if you look at it like that, it's a little bit more cool. You know, pay 1, look at their hand, immediately sack it to draw an additional card. So, you know, there's something there. Glass Casket's fine. Reprobation is fine. So this one really is just a lot of, like, deal with creatures. Okay. Spell, Fairgrounds Warden, Iron Verdict, Responds, Raise the Alarm is interesting. Seal Away, and Summary Judgment. The issue is that Raise the Alarm and Bounty Agents are the only 2 things that actually give you creatures, so... I don't know how to evaluate this card. This one definitely feels like I gotta play with it more. Because... Actually, I need to check something. Go to Advanced Search. Let's go to... I think I'll do Clue in the text line. And then Legal in Historic. What? Am I blind? Have I clicked something wrong? Shut up. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Let us sort it by color. So technically only one here. Okay, never mind. We don't have a lot of good clue creation. Why did I think there was more clue creation than this? I feel like I'm missing something, but I was thinking like, oh hey, we could you could make a control deck that happens to use a decent amount of clues, but Suntail Squadron. This is hilarious. 4 mana instant, conjure a card named Suntail Hawk into your hand. If you have fewer than 7 cards in hand, repeat the process. Essentially, this is a 4 mana instant that fills your hand with 1 mana, 1/2 flyers. Based. I don't think it's funny. You can put it in the bird deck. If you're just a deck that likes to go wide, you know, mono 1-drops or something like that. You know, it's a fine card. I think it's a reasonable. I pressed the spacebar button on accident. It's a reasonable card. Under the blue, Absorb Energy. 3 mana instant, counter target spell. Cards in your hand that share a card type with the spell perpetually gain. The spell costs 1 less to cast. If you counter an instant, your next Absorb Energy will only be blue. This card is going to be painful in counter wars. In control mirrors, I mean. It's going to be painful. Oh, you cast your Planeswalker? I counter it. Now my Teferi costs less. Oh, you cast this enchantment? I counter it. Now I can play some other dumb... I can play Elspeth Conquers Death for only 4 mana now, holding up more mana earlier. Nuts. Utterly nuts. I don't think this is like a main deck type card. This really does seem like a... Bring this in against control matches. Like this plus Dovin's Veto. Just piss everybody off. Clone Crafter. 2 mana, 1/2. By the way, I like for any of the cards that I think shouldn't be rare, I'll mention it. This card's borderline. I could potentially see it being an uncommon, but that effect is very strong. So. Oh, this only affects cards in your hand. No, this could be an uncommon easy. I misread this. I misread this. Yeah, no, that could be uncommon. It only affects cards in your hands. Clone Crafter, 2 mana, 1/2. When it enters the battlefield, conjure a duplicate of a random creature card from your opponent's library into your hand. It perpetually gains. You may spend mana as though there's mana of any color to cast a spell. What's interesting here is that this can potentially give you information on what your opponent's playing. Otherwise, it's an alright card. If your opponent isn't playing any creatures, it's bad. You're making a duplicate, so you're not actually stealing it. I don't know. I feel like this card could be an uncommon. I don't actually think this card's going to see any play. I don't think this card's very good. Discover the formula. 4 mana instants, seek 3 non-land cards. Then non-land cards in your hand perpetually gain the spell cost 1 less to cast. So essentially, if you have no cards in hand, you draw 3 that aren't lands, guaranteed not lands, and they all cost 1 less. So essentially, you're paying a 3 mana draw 3 card, but it's actually a 6 mana with 3 different 1 mana rebates. Seek 3 non-land cards. You're guaranteed to get non-lands. It isn't instant. If you have a non-empty hand, you do get a little bit more. This might see play in control. I just feel like there are so many other cards that are stronger in control, so they don't want to play it. Geist Chandler, 2 mana 1/3 human Vizard. When it enters the battlefield, choose an instant or sorcery card in your hand with mana value 3 or less. It perpetually gains. This spell costs 2 less to cast. You turn something that costs 3 into something that costs 1. Cool. You can also make it so that a Wrath of God costs only 2 mana. Notably, it's only instant sorcery, so it is bounded. Lifelink costs 2 less to cast. So you're making it so Alden's Epiphany costs 5 now? I don't like that. 5, blue. Down to 3. Yeah, that's 5. That is 5. Okay, nope, I hate it. Geist of Regret. Hilarious. 5 mana, 4/5 flying spirit. When it enters the battlefield, put a random instant card from your library into your graveyard. Then put a random sorcery card from your library into your graveyard. When you cast an instant sorcery spell from your graveyard, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Essentially, this wants you to be playing a lot of flashback type spells. Or jumpstart type spells. I don't think there are enough of those to be good. Also, why is this a mythic? Rare. Absolutely. Why is this a mythic? How is this a mythic? You ETB tossed 2 random cards into your graveyard. And then when you cast an instant sorcery card from your graveyard, you get to copy it. That's good. That's cool. But you have to really build your deck in a specific fashion. I feel like this should be rare. Kindred Denial. 4 mana instant, counter target spell, seek a card with the same mana value as that spell. This card legitimately seems pretty strong in a control mirror. Because not only are you countering their spell, you're getting a card that, depending on how homogenous the format is, could be the exact same spell you just countered. Yeah, might be a really annoying card in control mirrors. Keyword might be. Obsessive Collector. So 4 mana, 4/3 spirit with flying and ward 2. When it deals combat damage to a player, seek a card with mana value equal to the number of cards in your hand. So you have a little bit of control on the type of card you can seek, because you can have a little bit of control on the number of cards in your hand. Okay, that's quite nice. It does have to do combat damage to a player. Okay, it does have flying. Has ward, a little annoying to deal with. So yeah, I think this is an interesting card. I think it is reasonable at rare. I feel like it's gonna not be strong enough to see play, but I wouldn't be surprised if this card does. Oglar. Oglor. Whatever. Devoted Assistant. 2 mana, 1/1 Homunculus to Legend. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top 2 cards of your library, then put one of them into your graveyard. Whenever a creature card is put into your graveyard from your library, it perpetually gains when this card leaves your graveyard. Create a 2/2 tapped black zombie creature token. So this is a card that wants to be self-mill. Specifically for creatures. And then have a lot of ways of somehow forcing them to leave. I don't see this card being good at all. Again, I don't see why this should be mythic. But looking at it in brawl terms, right? It's mono blue. Like, how many? I mean, there are obviously cards that'll shuffle your graveyard, and that will count. But that means you're playing fewer creatures. There are some creatures that mill. Will they always be able to mill you? Creature cards put your graveyard from your library specifically. Perpetually gains when this card leaves your graveyard. So I guess maybe it's supposed to be a deck where, like, you have a lot of graveyard shuffle effects. Because it is perpetual. I think because it's just blue, it's not going to be as good. If this were blue-black, I think it'd be really interesting. For very obvious reasons. I don't know. I have to see. I have to wait and see for that one. Rime Wall Protector is a 3 mana 3/4 giant wizard. Okay. It is a blue card that has better stats than it should. It has ward 1. Wow, even better stats. When it enters the battlefield, each other giant or wizard you control and each giant or wizard card in your hand perpetually gains Ward 1. Okay. Thank you for making Wizard Tribal better. I mean, for what it's worth, Wizard Tribal and Giant Tribal aren't exactly, like, breaking waves right now. So, I guess it's fine. It is just, I don't know, it's just weird to see a blue card that is a 3-mana 3/4 with only upside. Sinister Reflections. Ooh. 2-mana instant, conjure a duplicate of each of up to 2 target non-token creatures. Okay, that was hard to parse. You control into your hand. So you target one of your, you target 2, potentially, of your non-token creatures, and you make extra versions of them in your hand. I was really confused by how that last line read. You have up to 2 target non-token creatures you control into your hand. I don't know why. It's a fun card, not a good card. Yeah. Tireless Angler. 3-mana 1/4. Human Rouge. Whenever an island enters the battlefield under your control, draft a card from a spellbook. Only cared about islands. That's kind of cool. Crap, were you down? You were down. Spellbook, spellbook. Okay. Angler. Fleet Swallower. Okay. Obviously, you're going to be wanting to play lands, because you get these when you play lands. It enters the battlefield, so technically it works with other things. Moat Piranhas. Okay, it's good to have an early card. Mystic Skyfish. Nadir Kraken. Okay. Panting Shore Shark. Okay. Yeah, it seems reasonable. Sea Dasher Octopus goes nicely with the Pouncing Shore Shark. Spined Megalodon. Singing Lionfish. It's fine. Again, it's a nice early thing. Voracious Grey Shark. Cool. Archipelagore. Cool. More mutate there. Serpent of Yawning Depths. Makes sense. Wormhole Serpent. I guess. Sigil Starfish. Absolutely fantastic. Riptide Turtle. It's a creature that is early. Cool. And then Ruin Crab. One of these things is not like the other. Is this a May? Nope. Alright, avoid Ruin Crab unless you're a dedicated mill deck. Although if you're a dedicated mill deck, why the heck are you playing that, right? Next up is Unexpected Conversion. 3 mana. Draw 2 cards. Okay, this is already divination. Then you may exile an instant sorcery card from your hand. If you do, search your hand and library for any number of cards with the same name. Exile them, then shuffle. Seek an instant or sorcery card for each card exiled from your hand this way. What? Draw 2 cards. Then you may exile an instant sorcery card from your hand. If you do, search your hand and library for any number of cards with the same name. Exile them, then shuffle. Seek an instant sorcery card for each card exiled from your hand this way. I don't understand this card. I legitimately do not understand this card. Draw 2 cards. Gotcha. Then you may exile a card, an instant sorcery from your hand. Okay. I'm just going to pretend I have Dark Rituals. I have hands of Dark Ritual, Swamp, or Swamp, let's say Swamp Island. I draw 2 cards. One of them is a Dark Ritual, and the other one is an island. Okay, so now I have Swamp, double Island, double Dark Ritual. Okay. I'll exile my Dark Ritual from my hand. If I do, search your hand and library for any number of cards with the same name. Exile them, then shuffle. So I can exile the other Dark Ritual from my hand. So now I have Swamp, double Island. And then I can exile 2 from my library. Seek an instant or sorcery card for each card exiled from your hand this way. So I get nothing from exiling them from my library. I also can't exile them from my graveyard. But I get to essentially just replace the cards in my hand? I guess if you're really looking for a specific instant or sorcery, that would be fine. This card just seems complex for no reason. Like, I don't think the card's good. Assemble from parts. Finally onto the black cards. This is horrifying, by the way. 1 mana instant. Target creature card in your graveyard perpetually gains 4 mana. Exile this card from your graveyard. Shuffle it into your library. Create a token copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie that isn't to its other types. Activate only as a sorcery. Now, this is actually kind of interesting, because it potentially allows you to not need... it is shuffled in, right? Yeah, it's shuffled in. That's nice. Potentially to not need... Unburial rights. So maybe you won't need the white in the deck, which would be very interesting. Because now you could potentially just play red-black, have a lot of ways of self-milling, of potentially self-discarding. Because I think, yeah, there's a card in... from Modern Horizons that's in Historic now that costs more to make one player discard a card, but costs less to make both players, like all players, discard. So it would allow you essentially to still force your opponent to discard while allowing you to get rid of a card in your hand. And with this, it's an instant speed thing. You can only activate the ability as a sorcery, so I guess that's a little annoying. I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure about this card. I like it. I like it in concept. Essentially what you're doing is kind of like Scarab Godding the creature, but the fact that it gets shuffled back in, and it perpetually gains that, means that if it goes back into your graveyard, you can just use it again. It's interesting. I like this. I like this card. I don't know if it's good or not, but I do like the card. Break Expectations. That is a sword to flowers. Black sorcery. Target player reveals all cards with mana value 2 or greater in their hand. You choose a card from among those cards. Exile that card. If a card was exiled this way, that player drafts a card from Break Expectations spellbooks and reveals it. Interesting. Colossal Plow. Hilarious. I do not understand. You choose a card from among those cards. Exile that card. If a card was exiled this way, that player drafts a card and then reveals it. And it's only mana value 2 or greater. Okay, but I guess you could snipe something really good. At first I was thinking this card was terrible. But now I'm realizing it might actually be kind of good. They're able to, the thing is they draft it, right? So they are able to pick the best card from among them. But none of these cards are particularly good. Right? Like, you're only really going to want to play this. I mean, the only thing it doesn't hit are 0s and 1s. All cards with value 2 or greater in their hand. This is, for what it's worth, this is also potentially like this technically couldn't be printed in paper, because you don't technically know if your opponent's lying to you. Obviously, if you're at like a tournament, you could be like, "Hey, judge, make sure he's actually doing that," but that'd be a freaking headache. Target player reveals all cards with mana. You can target yourself with this, so that's actually pretty interesting. So you could force yourself to discard. Like, if you really need one of these for whatever reason, I don't frankly see how you would get, like, much use out of any of this. But I guess technically, if you really needed one of these, you could discard or exile, I guess, something. Like, look, I actually don't know. This seems like... The thing is, like, these all seem kind of bad. which is good because you get rid of like a Teferi or a board wipe or something out of someone's hand, and then they get nothing really good. They get to pick the best of nothing really good, but the best of nothing really good is still not really good. Yeah, this card might be pretty sick. I'm not sure. It might be pretty sick, though. City Stalker Connoisseur. 4-mana 3/3 Vampire, Death Touch. Enters the battlefield target... Wait. Okay. Enters the battlefield target opponent, discards a card with the greatest mana value among cards in their hand, create a blood token. Again, this is something that would be annoying to deal with in paper. This, like, you don't get to see your opponent's hand. They just discard, has Death Touch, gets a blood token. It's reasonable. For what it's worth, I think it's a little bit underpowered to be a rare. I guess it's a 2-for-1. Because you get a creature and you force them to discard. Yeah, you know, it's fine. It's just fine. Curse-bound Witch. 1-mana Human Warlock. When it dies, draft a card from her spellbook. Okay. 1-mana 1/2 Warlock that wants to die. That does not surprise me. Witch's Cauldron. Witch's Cauldron. Okay. Witch's Oven. Witch's Cottage. Witch's Familiar. Curse of Leeches. Cool. Cauldron Familiar. Black Cat. Sorcerer's Broom. Bloodhunter Bat. I mean, none of these are terrible. They're not good, don't get me wrong, but none of these are actually terrible. You do get to draft them. So maybe if you're playing a sacrifice deck that wants to not necessarily be the best sacrifice deck that it could be, you play this? I don't know, seems fun. Could be a common. Gutmorn Pactbound Servant. Sick name, dude. Absolutely sick name. 3-mana 1/3 Flying Death Touch Demon. Interesting. Small Demon Man. When it enters the battlefield, each player discards a non-land card. Okay. Whenever a player discards a card during your turn, they choose another player. That player conjures a duplicate of that card into their hand. It perpetually gains. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any card to cast the spell. Interesting. So, they choose another player. Okay. So when this enters the battlefield, you and your opponent swap a card. Swap a non-land card. Obviously, if you cast this and you have no cards in hand, you ain't got to do crap. And then, when essentially you force your opponent to discard on your turn, you get to steal that card, essentially. I think this is reasonable in Mythic. It's very interesting. Might be a fun new discard commander in place of Tiny Bones. Could also just put this in with Tiny Bones. Is it good enough to be played in Constructed Historic? I doubt it. It has Death Touch, which is nice, but 3 toughness is kind of hard to deal with, especially like if you, because you got to remember you're giving them a card as well. It feels like it's only kind of a brawl card. Patient 0. 2-mana 2/2 lifelink zombie. Damage isn't removed from creatures your opponents control during cleanup steps. Really cool ability. Too bad this card dies like that. I would much rather see this be a 1/3. It does less damage by itself, yes, but that damage is not going to wear off, and it survives a little bit better. I know it doesn't have to go into combat, but they gave it lifelink. I don't know, it's weird, because if it dies, like, the damage is removed. It'd be cool if they had an effect, like a delayed effect, like, the things I have no idea how I'd word it, but essentially it would just be like this effect lasts until the turn after it leaves play. Obviously worded better to actually work within the rules, but that way you still have some staying power even after the patient dies. Predatory Sludge, you'll notice I'm on a different website. That's because Scryfall did not have these, so we are here. Predatory Sludge, 3 mana, 3/3 ooze, nice. With Menace, nice. As it enters the battlefield, choose a permanent you don't control. Okay. When the chosen permanent is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, conjure a card named Predatory Sludge into your hand. Ooh. This is big shovel vibes. I mean, you could even like shovel into this, right? Play a decent amount of removal. It does have to be, it has to be destroy. It can't be exile. Decent amount of removal. And you get extra sludges. Yeah, it's fun. That card's fun. I like this card. Also, it's another card for the ooze deck. Puppet Razor. 4 mana, 3/3 zombie wizard. At the beginning of your end step, exile up to 2. Oh, okay, I read that wrong. Exile up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard. If you do, seek a creature card with mana value equal to that mana value of that card plus 1. That card. The card perpetually gains menace. So you're forced to exile a creature card from your graveyard. I tend not to like those effects, but you immediately get a card into your hands that is 1 plus that card, and it gets menace. So I'm just trying to think in the context of zombie decks, right? So you have a Champion that's Perished, and probably another 1-drop. You have probably Tainted Adversary, a couple other 2-drops. Not like literally 2 cards, but like other cards that I can't think of right now. You very obviously are having at least 1 zombie lord. Let's say we have Headless Horseman guy, Death Baron, and Lord of the Accursed. Then you have this on 4. Do you have anything else on 4? Probably that's not a. Probably not. That's a creature. No, but still, you could get an additional. Oh, it's also at the beginning of your end step. For some reason I thought this was ETB. I mean, if you're not playing like Academ's Awakening, it's also up to, like, you're not forced to. The more I'm thinking about this card, the more I'm liking it. You're essentially like birthing podding your creatures, but not from and then onto the battlefield. No, I like this card. Does it deserve to be mythic? Maybe not, but I'm actually like not. I don't have an issue with that being a mythic. Sanguine Blood Brushstroke. 3 mana, enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, create a blood token and conjure a card named Blood Artist onto the battlefield. Whenever you sacrifice a blood token, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. That's awesome. So essentially, for 1 extra mana, you get a blood token and a passive of when you sack a blood token, your opponents lose 1. And you gain 1. That's kind of cool. I don't think it's terribly strong, but it is terribly cool. Could be uncommon, but I think it's fine as is. Sap Vitality, a black instant, deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Choose a creature card in your hand and perpetually gets +3. Oh. Huh. Aggressive creature deck, like zombies. Kill a thing, make your thing bigger. Might be interesting. The main thing is Dav looking like a Papa something from Ghost. I don't. I'm pretty sure technically they're all the same guy, but it like a story thing, whatever. But one of them, like the makeup and stuff, kind of looks like this. Whatever. Veteran Ghoul Caller. I hate cards that aren't zombies. 2 mana, 2/1. Menache, Human Rogue. Whenever a card in your graveyard is put into your hand, Whenever a card in your graveyard is put into your hand, conjure a duplicate of that card into your hand. So this is kind of interesting, because what it does is it tries to make the like Raise Dead style cards that just you put a creature card into your hand. It tries to make those a little bit better. Those cards are fine in limited, depending on the metagame and stuff. But those cards tend to be okay in limited because they're essentially drawing you a card, right? Well, not actually drawing you a card because it's not card advantage, but you get to choose a card. Shut up. But they're not very good and constructed because they cost a card. But with this, they don't cost a card anymore. Because now you're using one card to get 2 cards. And if you have multiple copies of this, you're getting multiple cards. Is it good? Probably not. But it's interesting. And I care a lot more about that. Arms Scavenger. This is just the dude from Resident Evil 8. Except more svelte. This is just the guy. This is just the guy. 2 mana 2/2 Human Warrior. For what it's worth, I'm noting a lot of warriors, clerics, rogues, and wizards. So that's also cool that they are technically helping out the party decks. I don't think that there are enough good cards in here to make party deck better, but maybe party deck better. Anyway, at the beginning of your upkeep, draft a card from Arms, then exile it. Until end of your turn, you may play that card. Okay, so you get a card, but you don't really get the card. That's reasonable. You get Boots of Steed, Kite Sail. Oh, of course, he's an arms dealer. Yeah, he gets you equipment. And he's a warrior. I think this card is a lot better in Brawl than Constructed. Because if you're playing Constructed equipment, you're really doing a focused thing. I think. I'm not sure. Blood Rage Alpha. Wolves. 4 mana 4/3. Wolf. When it enters the battlefield, choose one. Another target wolf or werewolf you control fights target creature you don't control. So essentially, it enters the battlefield. If you have another wolf or werewolf, you can be like, sick 'em, boy! And then they sick 'em. Or, when you cast your next wolf or werewolf spell, it gains when this creature enters the battlefield. It fights up to 1. Okay, so cool. If you have another werewolf that you want to fight something, you have them fight. If not, you can make it so your next wolf will. For what it's worth, you have to choose one. It's interesting. 4 mana though, only historic brawl. Let's just be honest. Brawl, normal standard brawl, not real. Historic brawl is only brawl. I will be referring it to as brawl from now on. Yeah, only really brawl. I don't know. If it did say another, it'd be better. Because it also, like, it only has 3 toughness. So it's not like it's going to survive a ton. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it needs to say other, but... Brittle Blast. 3 mana. Instant. Creatures and planeswalkers your opponents control perpetually gain. If this permanent would die, exile it instead. Then deal 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Yeah, I mean, 3 mana, deal 5 damage to a creature or planeswalker is nothing new. But it forces an exile, so that's pretty cool. But what's also interesting, I guess, is that it also works on all of them, right? It's not just the ones that you kill. It's, for the rest of the game, the ones that your opponents have on the board, if they would die, goodbye. That's cool. I think it's interesting. Was that a rare? No, good. Shouldn't be a rare. Conductive Current. Interesting. 3 mana. It's triple red. For a sorcery, Conductive Current deals 3 damage to each creature. Okay. Choose an instant or sorcery card in your hand. It perpetually gains if this spell would deal 9 combat damage to a permanent or player. Deals that much damage plus 2 instead. Okay. First things first. It's a 3 mana. Deals 3. Very similar to Anger of the Gods and Sweltering Suns. those are playable. This is triple red. Triple red is very different than one red red. And then makes your other instant sorcery, if they would deal non-combat damage to a permanent or player, deals that much damage plus 2 instead. Interesting. So it can turn the next one of these into 5 damage. It could turn your Lightning Strike into 5 damage. You could turn your... Oh man, this plus Torbrand? I guess it kills Torbrand. Curses. It's cool. I like it. Art's great. Its ability is great. Cool card. I like it. Electrostatic Blast. 2-mana instant. Deals 2 damage to any target. When you cast your next instant sorcery spell, exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play one of those cards until end of turn. Interesting. And it's not the next time you cast a spell this turn. It's just the next time you cast an instant sorcery spell. May this be played in burn, perhaps? Like an all-in instant sorcery burn, not that mono red red deck win style burn where they play a lot of creatures. Get that crap out of my face. Yeah, seems interesting. Fearsome Whelp. First of all, that art, fantastic. What other art has this person done? Real shit. Oh, this is like my favorite freaking bat. Did this? Alright, they've done some pretty dank art. Did Owlbear, classic. Did the cool wolf. Did very scary wolf. There's a lot of animals. A lot of wolves specifically. They're the ones who did Squirrel Sovereign. Oh, that's fantastic. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't like this art that much, but I do like this art. A lot of wolves. A lot of furry friends. That's pretty cool. Fearsome Wolf, though. 2-mana 1/1 flying. At the beginning of your end step, each dragon card in your hand perpetually gains this spell cost 1 less to cast. This is at the beginning of your end step. This stacks. You play this on turn 2. A 5-mana dragon. At the end of your turn, 5-mana dragon now costs 4. Next turn. I mean, there are 4-mana dragons. So you can even just play a 3-mana dragon. Or 4-mana dragon on turn 3. But then your 5-mana dragon will also cost 3. Okay, for sure this card's a bomb.com in Dragon Brawl. Am I nuts to think this is possibly playable in a very fringe historic deck? Because discounting even just 2 dragons can be nuts. Frenzied Geistblaster. 2-mana 2/2 human wizard with prowess. When it enters the battlefield, if there are 20 or more instants and sorcery cards from among cards in your graveyard, hand, or library, you may discard a card. If you do, seek an instant or sorcery card. He can turn a land into a burn spell. He also has prowess, so he likes to burn. This card is a card for burn. Rahilda wanted Cutthroat. Betty Yang, really cool art. 2 mana, legendary creature, human werewolf, first strike. When she deals combat damage to a player, exile a non-land card from their library at random. Interesting. During any turn you attacked with a wolf or werewolf, you may cast that card and you may spend mana as though or mana of any card to cast that spell. Okay. Daybound. And she turns into the Feral Outlaw. Now she has double strike. And the rest is the same. She is only a 2/2 on the back, which feels wrong. I guess she's a 2-mana wolf. That's not terrible. Does she deserve to be mythic? Yeah, probably. Yeah, this card's cool. I'm gonna put her Tovolar for sure. She's kind of like What is it? Relic Robber? No. The 2-mana hasty Eldraine Robber. Is it It's probably just Robber of the Rich. She's similar to that. She doesn't have haste. She does have First Strike, which is good. She does just steal things. During any turn you attacked. I wonder if she's good enough in Boros Death and Taxes. She would be the only wolf or werewolf, but... I don't know. It's interesting. What's really nice about this card, for what it's worth, is the fact that it will always be a non-land card. Tybalt, Wicked Tormentor. I mean, he doesn't really look like he's having a good time. 5 mana. 5 mana Tybalt. Ooh. 3 loyalty. +1. Add 2. Add red. Draft a card from Tybalt's spellbook. Then exile it until end of turn you may cast that card. Cool. +1. Tybalt deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker unless its controller has Tybalt deal 3 damage to them. If they do, you may discard a card if you do draw a card. Okay, so you have a choice of hitting a creature or planeswalker unless they decide to take damage. If they decide to take damage, then you also get the benefit of discarding and drawing. Okay, reasonable. Mind attacks create the Pink Devils. Okay, I mean that seems interesting. What are your draftables? Chain to Brute. Is it just gonna be Devils? I think it's just Devils. Yes, it is. It is literally just Devils. And it's kind of fun. And Sin Prodder, which is the coolest ever. Darkfiend, Brimstone Vandal, Devil's Play. Okay, it actually gets you a non-devil card. It doesn't have the little Candle Fiend. I guess because all of these are mono red. Okay, that makes sense, I guess. There you are. What's nice is that it also just adds red mana. You don't even have to cast the spell that you've drafted with it. You can just use it to add red mana. It's cool. It's cool. I like it. It's cool. I think it's pretty cool. Toralf's Disciple. 3 mana 3/3 with haste. Okay. When it attacks, conjure 4 cards named Lightning Bolt. Sorry. 3 mana. 3/3. Haste. It is a human and is a warrior. When it attacks, conjure 4 cards named Lightning Bolt into your library, then shuffle. Yes. I am going to die to this card. I am certain of it. She has haste. So even though she costs 3, that's not technically awful. I like it. I like it. I like it. Burn. Burn everything to the ground. Speaking of, Townraiser Tyrant is a 4 mana dragon. Okay, got another 4 mana dragon. Let's see if it's good. 4/4 flyer. Okay. Enters the battlefield, target land you don't control loses all abilities except mana abilities and gains at the beginning of your upkeep. This permanent deals 2 damage to you unless you sacrifice it. Interesting. This can also just go into a land destruction deck. Interesting. It's best to target lands with extra abilities, such as the World Tree, Castle Blue one, Ventress, yeah, Blast Zone, things like that. And then your opponent is just going to be taking damage. Especially like if you play like 2 mana ramp spell, 2 mana like ramp artifact into this on turn 3, or you know, even if you're playing like elves, you play an elf into Stone Rain into this. I like it. I like it a lot, because it also just hits you, like, in the face. Yeah, no, I like this card. It's mean. Antique Collector. 2-mana 2/2 Human Rouge. Can be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Okay. When they enter the battlefield, creatures you can control perpetually gain. When this creature dies, you may shuffle it into its owner's library if it's in your graveyard. If you do, investigate. As the battlefield creatures you control perpetually gain. It's kind of weird, but also kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, you have a chance to get them again. It's essentially free real estate if you don't have anything that cares about graveyard. It also just lets you investigate, so you have clues now to draw more. It's kind of cool, honestly. It's not a terribly, like, powerful card, but the fact that it is annoying for board wipes is kind of nice, because again, like, it just allows you to investigate. Also, because I always forget, like, because it's perpetually, it's not just like they don't get reset once they go back into their library. You can do it again. Putting extra versions on this doesn't actually get you extra stuff, because they have to be in your graveyard. If it's in your graveyard, it's interesting. Garruk, Wrath of the Wilds. It's a 4-mana, 3 loyalty planeswalker. Garruk, looking swole AF. +1, choose a creature card in your hand. It perpetually gains +1/+1, and perpetually gets this spell costs 1 less to cast. Okay, so you can go Garruk into 6-drop. So that's frightening. -1, draft a card from Garruk, Wrath of the Wild spellbook and put it onto the battlefield. Okay. -5 until end of overrun. -5 overrun. Okay. Honestly, I don't think the -5 matters here. I'm pretty sure it's the plus and the minus. So we go to Derek. Derek. We have a Goriak. Remember, this costs 4. So -1. So far, 2 3-drops. A 2-drop. It's this 2/2 Ferocious Pup comes with 2 creatures, which is nice. Creature that can get Death Touch. Okay. Garruk's Uprising. Interesting. Elk. Hornbeetle. Scythe Cat. Shovel Snap, which can be a 3/3. Okay. Wary Okapi. Scurry Comet. That's the weird squirrels, yeah. Mark-Eye Troll. And Underdark Basilisk. I'm liking Derek. I think Derek's kind of cool. Fun stuff there. Ooh, another wolf. Geistpack Alpha. 4 mana, 5/4. Trample. When it dies, seek a permanent card with mana value equal to the number of lands you control. The issue with that is there's a cap there, right? So if you're playing this in Constructed, a Wolf Constructed deck, you're probably topping out at 4. So it kind of makes you not want to play any more lands after you get this out. I guess some of the Wolf decks might be playing the 6-drops. Maybe you're playing a more mid-rangey version, less aggro-y version that plays the 5-drops. I mean, I think that's best, honestly, in Brawl, because you'll have the room to actually include the higher mana value cards. Grizzled Huntmaster. Okay, I thought that was mythic for a second. Grizzled Huntmaster. 3 mana, 4/3. Okay, Human Warrior. Enters the battlefield. You may exile a creature card from your hand. If you do, search your hand and library. Jesus Christ. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile a creature card from your hand. If you do, search your hand and library for any number of cards with the same name, exile them, then shuffle. Choose a creature card you own from outside the game. Okay. Conjure a duplicate of that card into your hand for each card exiled from your hand this way. What's the point of this? Exile a creature card from your hand. If you do, search your hand and library for any number, exile them. Choose a creature card you own from outside the game. Conjure a duplicate of that card into your hand for each card exiled from your hand this way. Who cares? Okay, there's got to be something about this card that I'm missing. This and the blue card. Let's go to Magic Arena. I guess maybe I should just go to Magic TCG. Obviously, none of those places are fun. Everyone's just yelling at each other. But, okay. Grizzled Huntmaster should be near the first page. Okay, Grizzled Huntmaster. 89 comments. This guy plus Persistent Petitioners in hand. Allows you to get rid of most of your deck. I don't see why this card is cool. Okay, so it looks like... Okay, so it looks like the purpose of this card, according to the person who designed it, is you can essentially side out cards. So if you're playing best of one, you have some cards. They can only be creatures for this one. And for the blue one, they'd be instant sorceries. And then your hand. If you have a creature in your hand that doesn't really do anything in this match, you can grab those cards and yeet them. And the reason it's good to grab the ones out of the library is so you don't draw them, because they'd be dead draws. And then if you lost a card in hand because of this, you get to replace it with a card from your 7-card sideboard in best of 1. In best of 3, you essentially can just shift out cards for like one of your actual sideboard cards. Okay, I guess. Okay. I guess I understand that. It's weird, but okay, sure. Hinterland Chef. Oh my god. 3 mana 3/3 Human Scout. When she enters the battlefield, draft a card from her spellbook and perpetually becomes a food artifact in addition to its other types, and perpetually gains the ability to sacrifice it as food. Hinterland Chef. Oh, I think these are just supposed to be wild animals. And they also become artifact food. It's very interesting that you're getting these creatures. Okay, it is going into your hand. But yeah, become food artifacts. So you can get artifact creatures this way, which is kind of strange. Kind of wild, if you ask me. It is only on ETB though, so. This could probably be an uncommon. Hollowhenge Wrangler. Okay. I think technically this is the Hollowhenge Wrangler. I think this is the elemental that's like wrangling whatever the fuck this is. 5 mana 6/6. Oh my god, seriously? Okay, 5 mana 6/6. When Hollowhenge Wrangler enters the battlefield, seek a land card. Okay. Discard a land card. Conjure a card named Hollowhenge Wrangler into your hand. You may also activate this ability. While Hollowhenge Wrangler is in your hand. Or, sorry, well, is in your graveyard. Okay. So you pay 5 mana for 6/6. And you immediately get a land. Now you have 5 mana on the battlefield, because you cast this. Even if it dies and goes to your graveyard, you can discard a land and make another copy of Wrangler. The other one is still in the graveyard. You can cast this one, which will give you a land. It also technically is thinning your deck. It's an elemental. It is an elemental. This card might be like a sleeper hit, dude. Ishkana, Broodmother. 4 mana 3/5 spider with a reach, legendary. Other spiders you control get +1/+2. Nice. 1 in Golgari to exile 2 cards from your graveyard. Draft a card from the spellbook. I'm happy that this doesn't say creature cards. It looks like she has like little feet here. Okay, Ishkana. Twin Silk Spider. So it looks like it's just gonna be spiders. Yeah. Yep, just some spiders. Hatchery Spider's pretty good. I mean, none of these spiders are like Garbo, because they're essentially free cards. Spider Spawning's cool. Creature card in your graveyard. So yeah, you can choose not to get yeah, you can choose not to grab the creatures. So if you just have other things in there, you can just exile those. You can do it at instant speed, doesn't require her to tap. She's also a Spider Lord. Because of this, she's also a black-green spider without requiring it to cost. That's awesome. Oh, you know what? That is what Oglor should have had. I don't know how they would do it exactly, but if it was just like somewhere in here to cost a Dimir, then I think that would make it reasonable. Because then like you can still play it in a mono blue deck, but you have the option of using black in Brawl. Lupine Harbingers. Oh my god, it's a foretell card? Cool. 4 mana, 4/4 trample, haste wolf. Okay. I'm also seeing eyes here, that's horrifying. Lupine Harbingers enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters it, where X is the number of turns you've begun since it was foretold. Interesting. It has trample and haste. That's kind of cool. So I mean, that's the thing about Alchemy that I really do like, is you're taking foretell, which is, you can do some stuff with it. Like poison the cup allows you to scry if it was cast from foretell. Cool stuff. But now you're attaching something to it that you couldn't track easily in paper. So you foretell this on 2. And if you cast it on turn 6, and you play a land each turn, that's 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6. This becomes an 8/8 trampler for 6 with haste. We can keep waiting, and it becomes a bigger trampler for 6. Again, probably best in a Brawl deck, but it is still pretty cool. I like it. Ravenous Pursuit. Okay, that boar is fudged. Although, for what it's worth, those tusks, one of those wolves is taking a goring, and it probably won't survive. 2 mana sorcery, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Choose a creature card in your hand, it perpetually gets +X/+X, where X is the amount of excess damage dealt this way. So not only are you hitting something without your creature being hurt, you're making it so that if you're killing a creature that is smaller than the creature you're killing it with, you can make another creature of yours bigger. That tracks. Green's really... Is this not a real card? Okay, it's a rare. It's just not on Scryfall for some reason. That was strange. Cool card. Settle the Wilds. 3 mana. Sorcery. This... Look, I don't control the images. Alright. 3 mana, seek a basic land card and put it on the battlefield tapped. Okay. Then seek a permanent card with mana value equal to the number of lands you control. Huh. So it's rampant growth. You don't get to search for the exact basic, but still. It's rampant growth. And you get a permanent that you can cast the next turn. That's cool. Again, I think this is more for brawl. That is cool. I mean, maybe you could play it in a normal ramp deck. Tenacious Pup. Oh my god, it's adorable. It's like actually freaking adorable, dude. 1 mana, 1/2 wolf. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. Absolutely. When you cast your next creature spell, that creature enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. Additional 1/1 counter, trample counter, and vigilance counter. Interesting. So the wolf, this wolf by itself, not very strong. It's also a 1/2 instead of a 2/1. It's whatever. But you play this, and then you can play a 2 mana 2/2 that will become a 3/3 with trample and vigilance. This is kind of cool. Is it good? I don't know. I have to play with this card. I like it. Begin anew. Green, green, white, white. Sorcery, destroy all creatures. Creature cards in your hand perpetually get +1/+1. Very interesting card because it's obviously in like the colors of I need to be playing creatures, but it does give you a consolation prize of making the rest of your creatures larger. So like if you're essentially like being, you know, this is best of 3 or this is brawl, you're being overwhelmed even though you have a lot of creatures. It's like you're just like my opponent has too many. You're like, okay, reset the board. I've been holding a few creatures because I knew about this. You haven't been. And now your stuff is dead, and my stuff is bigger. Plus, it's only 4 mana, so you can, like, play a couple of those creatures. Yeah, it's cool. Gitrog, Horror of Zava. First of all, holy crap. I'm guessing that the Gitrog monster was influenced by Emrakul, to say the least. Anyway, 4 mana, 6/6. Yikes. Menace, Frog Horror. At the beginning of each combat, if Gitrog is untapped, any opponent may sacrifice a creature. If they do, tap Gitrog, then seek a land card and put it on the battlefield tapped. Okay. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, it perpetually gains, pay black, green, tap, sacrifice it, draw a card. So it has this menace instead of flying, but this essentially is Desecration Demon? But also just gets you a land, so it ramps you as well. And it is each combat. So that's interesting. Because if you have a way to untap this, then you can really piss the crap out of your opponent. Piss the crap off of you? I don't know. It's cool. It also makes it so your lands, you can sack them. If you have other Gitrog, you can do cool stuff with that. Pretty nice. Key to the Archive. 4 mana artifact. Key enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, draft a card from its spellbook, and then tap, add 2 mana in any combination of colors. Let's see what spellbook is. Approach the Second Sun. Day of Judgment. Time Warp. Counterspell. Demonic Tutor. Doomblade. Lightning Bolt. Claim the Firstborn. Frozen Grip. Regrowth. T-Spark. Okay, so essentially it's just... Oh, this is the Strixhaven symbol. This is the Archive in Strixhaven. Makes sense. Gotcha. We're down here. Soulstealer X. 1 mana, 2 equip, artifact. Equip creature gets tremble. Whenever equip creature deals combat damage to a player, seek a card with mana value equal to that damage. Interesting. This one's a little harder to control. Artifact, brawl decks. I don't see this being played in the equipment deck. Wickerwing Effigy, 3-mana 1/4 Scarecrow. Defender, you may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. When you cast a creature spell from the top of your library, it becomes a blackbird in addition. Oh, not from the top. When you cast a creature spell from your library, it becomes a blackbird in addition to its other colors and types, has flying, and has base power and toughness 1/1. Okay, so it allows you to cast spells off the top, cast creature spells off the top, but at the price of their base stat total is lower. This is an interesting card. I don't think it's going to be played anywhere. And then the last card here. Wait, that's not true. There's a card I didn't talk about. Oops, I'll talk about that in a moment. Forsaken Crossroads. Land. Enters tapped. When it enters, choose a color. When it enters the battlefield, scry 1. If you weren't the starting player, you may untap Forsaken Crossroads instead. So I believe what this means is either you get a tap land where you choose a color and scry. If you were the second player, you get to choose a color and have a land come in untapped. And you add 1 mana of the chosen color. That's very interesting. This is an interesting way of kind of like having benefit as the second player. I think it's going to be very good. But it is interesting. And then the card that I did not show was Ominous Traveler. 2 mana, 1/1. When it has a human, for some reason, I have no idea why this is a human. Honestly, it'd be really cool if this didn't have a race tag at all, but whatever. When it enters the battlefield, draft a card from Ominous Traveler spell. Oh, I think I understand now. That card gains, you may spend mana as though an card casts a spell, and when you cast a spell, return a creature named Ominous Traveler you control to the owner's hand. This makes sense now. It's an Ominous Traveler because we are assuming that they're human. Because all of the monsters on Innistrad, the flavor of Innistrad is that the monsters are all used to be human. They're human in some way. So you can draft vampires, werewolves, geists, and zombies. And then, since when you cast it, you have to bring the Ominous Traveler back because you've revealed the Traveler. It's cool. I don't know where it would be great, but it is cool. Anyway, that's my discussion of this giant freaking set. I have to proctor an exam today, so I don't know if I will be streaming on Thursday, but don't hold your breath. I might not. Anyway, I'd like to thank my lovely patrons for the continued support. If you'd like to join them supporting the show, you find links in the description down below. Do, of course, hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, all will be one. I like to speak fast.